Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast, and welcome to the preview show where we're going to be having a look forward at all of the boxing this weekend. Of course, that is Dave Allen versus Arslanbek Makhmudov, the scariest man in boxing. As well as that, you got Boots Ennis fighting, and Ben Whittaker made a big career switch. We'll get onto the Whittaker stuff shortly, but straight into the action. Dave Allen, Arslanbek Makhmudov. Dave Allen off the back of two great performances against Johnny Fisher. I'm fairly confident to say two wins against Johnny Fisher, even though the record doesn't say that. What are we thinking about this fight? Are we convinced by it? Is it a good fight for Dave Allen? What are we thinking?
I think it's a really good fight for him. I think it's the toughest fight of his career so far. But if he can get through it, then it opens up the opportunity for the biggest payday of his career, which is ultimately at the point he is at in his career. That's what I think you want to be. I know not everyone's going to be chasing money, but I think that's the right step for him. If he wins this weekend, it sets up big money fight against another top heavyweight. So yeah, hopefully, I'm hoping that we'll see him do it, because I think it'll be a really real feel-good story for British boxing.
I think what's interesting about Dave Allen is you look at a lot of fighters and they talk about, I want to win X title, I want to win X, I want to make, I want to go and fight in Vegas. For Dave Allen, it's about trips to Peppa Pig World. And I think when you've got a man like that and he's powered by Peppa Pig World, who can stop him, really?
You look at Dave Allen's career as well, and it's really, really fascinating, ain't it? When you look back on some of the fights he's had, and it just seems like this time around, there's been like a change of mindset in him. And you can understand because he's got a massive Russian coming his way on Saturday night in Arslanbek Makhmudov. But you look back and, David Price was like the fight where I think he had like a massive win against Lucas Brown. And then all of a sudden he's been given this big fight to fight David Price. And, he didn't go his way that night. And then you go to the Fraser Clark fight. People are saying he quit that night. And now he's got this opportunity where he's, as you rightly said at the start of the podcast, where he put aside Johnny Fisher in both those fights, in my opinion, and I think we can all agree on that. And this time around Saturday night, it's the sort of fight where it's just the perfect timing for Dave Allen in his career, I think. And
I think it's the perfect fight, the perfect opponent. Me and Harry, we were talking about this yesterday in a lecture. I don't think Makhmudov's that difficult an opponent. I think Matchroom have done a brilliant job of selling this narrative that Dave Allen is shit scared of Makhmudov and that he's going to be like, oh, what am I going to do? And that's what's made him work really hard. And Makhmudov's this really good fighter. And don't get me wrong, there's a world where Dave Allen loses to Makhmudov. Absolutely, there's a world where that happens. And other than a few sort of bad performances, otherwise Makhmudov was a scary up-and-coming heavyweight at one point. But I think what this represents is, like you say, an opportunity to win and get himself a huge fight, but actually a fight that's very, very winnable for Dave Allen. And really in the shape he's looking like he's in the mental state he's looking like he's in the form that he is definitely in, he should be winning this fight and going on to fight the likes of Deontay Wilder, be in the conversation to fight these guys in and around the world picture. And then you're looking at, with a man the power that Dave Allen has, you're looking at, he's got every puncher's chance to get a big, big fight. Or if not, he's going to make a hell of a lot of money trying. So, yeah, hugely happy for him. But do you agree that Makhmudov's, he's not all that, is it? Matchroom have done a good job here of selling this as a...
Yeah, they've sold it very well. And I think it's almost been portrayed in the lead up that Allen is a massive underdog going into this. And Makhmudov, rightfully so, is a scary looking man. But I think you take more from his two defeats. Looking at those two defeats against Cabell and Vianello, there's openings there that you can see Allen winning this fight. Like, a good reason for Allen winning this fight as well. If he takes from the Cabell fight, the body shots, the slowed Makhmudov down, and his engine isn't great. Like, once he gets to those later rounds, he really struggles, Makhmudov. And this is the fittest version of Dave Allen that we've seen in quite some time. Well, probably in his career, he's really looked after himself. And I think the fear factor that you spoke about, he's said in the lead up, he wanted someone that he was scared of going in there to get the best version of himself. I think that's what we'll see on Saturday. I think if he can navigate those early rounds, avoid early damage from Makhmudov, who is a big puncher and has got the ability to stop Dave Allen on Saturday, if he lands clean on Alan, I think he could stop him, but I think the later rounds plays massively into Alan's favour, and I think that's where we'll see the best of him.
Defensively, he's poor, I think, Makhmudov. I think he's just a sort
Chin
of...
first,
Yeah,
innit?
exactly. Really high up. And, Dave Allen, you look back to some of his stoppages that he's had in his career, that body shot against Lucas Brown, incredible. But that one shot he had against Nick Webb at the O2 was probably one of the best shots he's probably thrown in his entire career.
And he never brings it up either. He never mentions it, which is really, really humble of him.
And it just, the overhand right, I think it was that night. And it was just incredible. And that's all he needs to look for in this fight, that one big shot, because he's one-dimensional, Makhmudov. I think he's not going to change for Dave Allen. And I feel like for the way the promotion side of things are going, Dave Allen is the underdog, which I don't think he is. I think he's probably favourite to win the fight. But Makhmudov could come into this fight and think, this guy is not on my level. I've had bigger and better fights. But Ben touched upon, Ajit Kabayel was, if I'm honestly speaking, that's the first time I've seen him box, Makhmudov, against Kabayel. And I thought, who the hell is this guy? This guy's big, he's scary. And then Kabayel just destroyed him in a way.
He got big brothered that night, properly.
Bullied the bully. And then Vianello just, I don't know what happened in that fight. He was so negative. I think his eye was buggered up and all. But no, listen, Dave Allen on Saturday night's got a big opportunity in front of him where he wanted some smaller names, but he went for a big name in Makhmudov to get him to that next stage in his career where, I'm not being funny, if you look back on his boxing record, he's been fighting in small hall shows. He's been to Malta to fight. He's been to all these little shows where, when the sort of the theming of his story then towards the back end after the Fraser Clark fight is, where's Dave Allen going now? And he had that massive, massive opportunity against Johnny Fisher to really reignite his career. And he took it with both hands. And Saturday night could just be the next sort of stepping stone to bigger and better things for him.
Yeah, I think there is a blueprint there to beat Makhmudov, I think.
100%.
And I think as long as he follows a strict game plan, and Dave Allen, he's quite good at taking a shot as well. So it's not as if, I don't think it's just going to be one shot from Makhmudov that's going to be enough to clean him out. Or I'd be very surprised if it is. So I think he'll be able to, it's a case of not taking too many, I think. But if he can tuck up enough for those early rounds, lay in the body shots, I think he has a real success in the later rounds. And nothing against Makhmudov, but I really want to see him do it. Just in terms of where he's come from. Well, before the Johnny Fisher fight, the first fight, where you sort of put them two up against each other, you never would have thought 18 months later that Dave Allen was going to be one win away from a potential fight with Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua or something like that.
It's not even a year. Yeah. It's not even a year. Dave Allen, like I said, you couldn't even picture this for Dave Allen. And I bet you if you asked Dave Allen when he fought against that Bichetta guy who fought Moses Jolie over...
Yeah, Bichetta, yeah.
If you asked him 12 months, 18 months, you'd be main event in the Sheffield Arena, 9,000 people, he would have laughed in your face. There's no way he thought this was going to happen to him. And now he's got the opportunity. And, you watch all the build up to it. He's happy. He's in a great place at the moment. And a happy fighter is a dangerous fighter. So we could see an incredible performance, which, like Ben said, I do hope we see.
Yeah, and I think beyond all of that, beyond the sort of Dave Allen tale in the Sheffield Arena, Yorkshire lad, main event, big fight, big opportunity. Just as in terms of, if we're looking at the bigger picture of what Matchroom have put on this year, in terms of main events and actually the card below it as well, it's a good night of boxing for fans on DAZN. I think it's one that probably I'd say one of their best cards of the year, I think, in terms of domestic shows, which is, let's be real, that's not a competitive competition, is it?
It's a shame, though, that you're struggling to think of cards in the UK that we've had. In terms of Matchroom, Queens, there's been some decent cards this year, but I don't know, it is a struggle because most of the big time shows now are going to Saudi Arabia, or probably some of the bigger fights have been abroad this year, like the Canelo Bud fight in Vegas. So it just doesn't. But also, I think specifically 2025 hasn't felt like there's been bar Eubank Ben.
Yeah, I think it was something that that people have been talking about off the back of Anthony Crolla talking in an interview about about that situation and how the Riyadh season stuff has affected domestic boxing in this country and stuff. But also I think the fact that so many huge fights were made so quickly and so many people won and lost against each other, that there is a little bit of a lag as the game catches up to the fights. I think maybe they stacked those cards a little bit too deep, but we enjoyed them while they were there. But also I think with Boxer struggling to this year with obviously the Sky Sports deal, then Matchroom and Queensberry haven't really had to pull their finger out. Like, albeit they played the game of Boxer and Ben Shalom, that's not really our problem. Like we're in a different league to them, but they did have to compete against them. And now hopefully going forward, that's something we'll see, particularly after the sort of the antics of Boxer putting on the same night as Wardley Parker. If that's the kick up the arse that Frank and Eddie need, particularly now that Eddie signed that deal with Riyadh season, which, let's be real, is almost certainly just a hell of a lot of money to put into shows, you'd hope. Maybe we're going to be seeing some better things coming in 2026. Who knows? Hopefully.
Hopefully we get a bit of money injected into the likes of GBM and Top Tier as well. Because in terms of, I know they're technically classed as small hole cards, but they're near enough breaking through. Well, they've put on probably some of the better cards we've seen in the UK this year.
That last Top Tier one was good.
Yeah, really good. They've got another one coming up now in November. GBM have put that show on. I think, is it the back end of the year with that tournament on?
Yeah, it's with GBM in
Harris Khan
association with a few others, I think.
Probably Sanagar and all those smaller.
Yeah, and they got that super middleweight tournament, which looks really exciting.
Hopefully we see the likes of those shows grow a bit more as well. We need as many platforms as possible for these fighters, because the more big fight nights we can put on, the more opportunities it is to make big stars, and ultimately it builds the sport across the country. And so, yeah, I think we just need, hopefully we'll see a lot more, especially through 2026.
Yeah, I think domestically it does trickle down. I think when you're talking big world title fights in Saudi Arabia, that doesn't necessarily trickle down through to your southern areas, your English, your British. But actually, if you've got people fighting in this country, main events for British titles, then the person who's just won the English title on the undercard is looking at a fight, and and they all kind of, it creates an atmosphere of fighting for stuff that makes things a bit more exciting and competitive. We're going to move on to obviously the Ben Whittaker stuff and that big announcement in a second, but let's touch on the undercard. Josh Padley, Reece Bellotti, which I believe is a Yorkshire derby. I believe it is. Yep. But both fighters, wow, matchmaking wise, that was a fight we none of us saw happening. Bellotti obviously off the back of that Ryan Garner loss, but actually into that was in the form of his career. Josh Padley, we've seen the resurgence or the insurgence, I suppose it is, since that first fight against Mark Chamberlain. That's a great fight and a really exciting fight, but also I don't really care who wins because I like both of them. I think more importantly,
it's an intriguing fight. I'm interested to see how Padley goes against Bellotti, because I don't know, when I first saw this fight announced, it was quite close after Bellotti lost to Garner.
Days after.
And it almost felt like, is this just them using him up now the last, towards the back end? But his only loss in recent years has come against Garner, someone who's on fringe world title level, if anything. So it's not as if this is an easy fight, and I don't think he's going to turn up just for a payday and just to be like, I'm just going to be the next name on Padley's record for him to kick on past me. He's going to look at this as, I need to win this weekend and stop his momentum for me to climb back to where I want to be. So I think it's a really good fight, really good matchmaking.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I'm a really big fan of it. I think for me, Reece Bellotti's he's like an old car, isn't he now? Don't get me wrong, he's not going to go and win any Grand Prix anytime soon, but
he's been in some brilliant
he
fights
still every day gets up, gets moving, and you can't look past him. I don't think you can see him as this I'll just beat Reece Bellotti and I'll be sorted. I'll be on the ropes of a British or European title. It's not going to be that kind of fight. And style wise as well, we know Bellotti's relentless. Padley's actually looked quite sharp and quite slick and was able to sort of beat Mark Chamberlain by being a sort of counterpuncher and slicking in and out and stuff. And so I think style-wise, it's going to gel really well, hopefully. Now I've said that, it'll be rubbish, but...
No, I think there's only one way this fight can go, and it's a really good fight for however long it lasts, and I expect it to last full distance. But you look back to that fight against Ryan Garner for Reece Bellotti, he got stopped late in that fight, didn't he? So, how much has that got an effect on him coming into this fight? Who knows? But Josh Padley at the moment, he you talk about Dave Allen in Dreamworld. Josh Padley must be absolutely loving life, beating Mark Chamberlain, and then all of a sudden he's fighting over in Saudi Arabia against Shakur Stevenson. And in a way, he did quite well against Shakur Stevenson with, at the start of the week, he was fixing people's roofs or whatever he does for a living. But no, listen, it's a great fight, great matchmaking. And it's the sort of fight where you look at both of their careers now, and it's the sort of fight where, it's not over for the loser. Both of these men whoever loses the fight, if there is a loser, can come back from it. And that's the great thing about it.
Yeah. I think there is a slight pressure of expectation starting to be put on Padley now, though. Like the Chamberlain fight, he went into it, none of us really knew about him. None of us expected him to win.
At Leeds Football Ground before the Chamberlain fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was at the LUFC banqueting suite, a luxury venue.
It's so posh until you see it.
He gets thrown into a world title fight on late notice against one of the best fighters in the world. But following that now, this is like the time now where you've got to show something, otherwise you're gonna drop straight. Like it is a cruel game, boxing. As quick as your name is up in the lights, it only takes that one loss against someone like Bellotti on Saturday, and people at Matchroom are just looking at you like, yeah, we don't need you anymore. You're done.
Yeah, eventually you've got to. I'm just trying to think of the words. You almost got to pay off the fans. Like want or love for you to win, at some point you have to pay that off, or eventually people are going to go, I don't actually care. If you're going to keep fighting whoever's or lose against big fighters, then yeah, whatever. But like you say, he was a feel-good story off the back of those two fights, and he's got people behind him, and if he can keep that momentum rolling now, it'll carry him really far. Not necessarily in the ring, but I'm talking out of the ring and the support behind him. He's going to get good fights and he's going to get great opportunities. You mentioned good matchmaking. This next fight is great matchmaking, but it's easy matchmaking. And I think if you're Junaid Bostan, after the first fight, you're thinking, whose idea was this to give me against
Do you know what
Fawaz?
I'm shocked about for this? And it's just come to my head there. There's a comparison here with a prospect fighting someone and struggling against them. Fair play for Matchroom for chucking in Junaid Bostan back in year against Fawaz, Cameron Vaughn, Gavin Gwynn, where's that? I'd say quietly. Because
It's like Eddie said, though. Like we said, that one's been talked about like it's been signed for a while, but it's just, I just don't think it's been announced. And they've announced a date now for the show in Monaco, so maybe that or something. But I think with this one, it goes back to what Eddie said a while back after, I forget
Castro?
lost.
In America.
Yeah, and he said, if you're not good enough to win these fights, like you're not good enough to be at Matchroom. And if Junaid Bostan can't get through Bilal Fawaz, and don't get me wrong, Fawaz is a quality fighter. That's not but if he's the fighter that Matchroom are putting the investment like he's going to be, this is the kind of fight he has to be winning. And so if you don't win the first time, then Eddie's got to go, right, this is your chance to get wrong. You're only going to get one chance. If not, next time you're fighting on GBM, next time you're fighting on, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. So, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to Junaid Bostan, because I think this is a great fight for him. This is the opportunity to prove that you are the fighter you've said you are. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'd be a really great fight. And there's such a weird energy between the two of them. Did you see the face-to-face interview they did? Like he seems like the long-lost brother of a Eubank or cousin of a Eubank Fawaz. Like he just has that air about him that you can't have a normal conversation with him. But I love it. It's great. He's so interesting.
Yeah, he's not just, well, he didn't turn up in our first fight just for a payday. And I think he went into that first fight 8-1. He'd had a loss early in his career, so it wasn't as if it was just some journeyman turning up. I think the first fight was a mix of maybe complacency from Bostan, maybe thinking he was a level above Fawaz and not expecting it to be such a tough fight. And like you said, Fawaz he seems like a character, and he almost riles himself up off his anger and aggression. I thought Fawaz won the first fight. Fawaz winning. I thought he was more aggressive, more on the front foot. He was pushing Bostan back for a lot of the fight, landing quite clean, a lot of shots. So I wasn't, I could see maybe for the draw, but I thought Fawaz won. But Bostan has to be better in this rematch because I feel like Fawaz is, and he's only going to take confidence from our first fight, I think. And I think if he can imprint himself the same way in this rematch. It's going to be very close again, but Boston needs to show, like you said, it needs to show that he can kick on past these levels if he wants to go any further with Matchroom.
Yeah.
Talk about pressure with Josh Padley. Pressure's on Junaid Bostan on Saturday night.
Big time. In front of your home crowd, or relatively home. He's Rotherham boy, isn't he? So it's pretty.
So if you can't
pretty
get
close.
through Fawaz, then, like you said, where's he going to be in 3-4 years' time?
Yeah. This is he's fighting for his future, and I think that will make a really great fight. Both fighters are. Another man who we're going to be seeing fighting for his future. His future's been on hold for a little while after a controversial draw over in Saudi Arabia. Now with Matchroom, Ben Whittaker, the surgeon. At one point, he went for the drunken master or something. He tried that one out. That one didn't stick. I've got a lot of time for Ben. We've said this a lot on the podcast. We've gone quiet on him. It's probably been the longest period of time that Ben Whittaker's name's not been brought up in Puncher's Chance podcast history since its inception. And I think that shows that he's been quiet in a way.
One of our favourites.
But we did call he's going to go to Matchroom. It just is the perfect fit. The announcement they made is exactly why Ben Whittaker is the perfect fit for Matchroom. Commercially speaking, as much as people might not like him, he's a megastar, and he could be a megastar with that Matchroom PR wheel behind him. I think this is really exciting times for him and for Matchroom.
Yeah, it was a really good, few promotional pieces, but that one video
Show me the money
was really good. But
pardon?
I think it'd be interesting to see where. I think they'll give him a sort of, not an easy fight now, the back end of the show, but one that you'd expect him to win. And then early 2026 is where you'll see him chucked in with a test. Someone like Craig Richards or Lyndon Arthur, something like that.
Maybe even someone like a Mark Jeffers, obviously off the back of that Willie Hutchinson loss.
Did you boys
up
watch
at light
that
heavyweight
loss as well on Saturday?
Yeah.
Mark Jeffers did not look the same fight.
No, but I think that is the kind of fight that would make sense for Whittaker, because again, it's the kind of fight he should be winning on paper. But yeah, realistically, we've seen him have that huge meteoric rise under Matchroom, and he was kind of the poster boy, and he was the numbers man. And then obviously that Liam Cameron first fight in particular was kind of this turning point where people who were indifferent to him turned to disliking him, and people who loved him maybe went off him a little bit. And I think definitely harshly so, or far too extremely so. And it's easy to look like the good guy when everyone's in your corner, and it's really easy to look like the bad guy when everyone's not. But I think this is the perfect opportunity to start anew, start afresh, and realistically get out more often, because we haven't seen him fight enough. I think that's part of the problem.
His last fight was Liam Cameron, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think, under Andy Lee, with the right promotional tool behind him, and I'm not saying he's going to be going and, beating Dimitri Bivol in a year's time or anything like this. I think, there is a world where Olympic silver medalist absolutely can be winning a world title, but he's going to have to show a lot between now and then to prove that that's his level. But he's definitely got some big nights, some good fights ahead of him, I think.
It's a really tough division in there, but
domestically as well.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be at the rematch with Liam Cameron, and you could see, especially in the press conference afterwards, he was very emotional. You could see how much that first fight had affected him, and all the sort of abuse or whatever he'd got after the fight. There's an argument to be made that when you are someone who portrays yourself as a showboater, you're opening. I'm not saying that taking abuse off people on social media is right, but when you're gonna portray that character, it does open yourself up to those people coming for you. I think he learned a lot, obviously, from that first Liam Cameron fight. I thought he was going to struggle in the second fight. You two went for Whittaker. I think I went for Liam Cameron because I thought that pressure was just going to be too much, but he looked like a different fighter that night. Obviously got a very good stoppage win. But yeah, I think Matchroom is the right place for him, like you said, just commercially, the way they'll be able to build him up. He's already near enough a superstar, really, in terms of the sort of brand value he brings. But yeah, a couple of big fights, big wins over the next few years, couple of months. So they've got a really, really big star on their hands.
That night against Liam Cameron, though, that rematch in Birmingham, I think Ben Whittaker, all that was going through his mind was, I need to silence all these doubters. These guys that have been talking so much online, all the stuff of is he really all this and all? And he just shut everyone up that night. And in a way, we met him, didn't we, down at a gym opening here in Cardiff, and such a lovely bloke, really down to earth person. And it's like he's got a different personality when he steps in that ring of cockiness, arrogance, and all that. But outside the ring, humble and all. And that's a great character that he is.
I can't remember who I said it to, but I said it to someone once. They were like, "Oh, what was he like?" And I was like, "I feel like we met Ben Whittaker rather than the surgeon. I think they are two different people."
Completely agree with you.
And unfortunately, when you have that sort of bravado in front of you, then people treat you like the bravado. But actually, when there is that human underneath as well, then you get that kind of conflict. And I think that's why he was so emotional in that post fight.
I was going to say,
because he was being a different person.
It was him breaking through.
Yeah, it's a different person is dealing with the consequences of the bravado, and that's part of the game because
it's understandable. As
so many great things in his career became because of what he was doing and the way he was conducting himself. That you there is a degree of you have to take the rough with the smooth, and if you're going to have the smooth, you've got to take the rough. And yeah, either way, regardless of all of that stuff, I think this is an exciting prospect going forward.
It must be good money as well for him because did you see the watch he had on a Richard Mille, the iPhone 17?
Is that your judgment of wealth? They got an iPhone 17.
He's got the new iPhone. He must be getting paid.
Yeah. What iPhone have you, Harry?
I don't know. iPhone 15 maybe.
16, I think you've got, or 15. What have you got, Ben?
I don't know.
I don't even know.
iPhone 4.
His mother still buys his for him. So.
Yeah, Tesco Mobile. If you're not on Tesco Mobile, by the way, get on it. It's exactly the same as
I'm a Voxy man myself. So that's a strange weird detour, but it works.
That's what it was.
Yeah, I think that's good stuff all round. Predictions. And we'll touch on obviously a little bit of the rest of the card. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to make a. We'll get onto that after the predictions. I'm going to make a complete. I forgot to check the time before we started recording, so I actually don't know how long this episode is right now. It could be 3 hours for all I know. Just to give everyone a let in how long. Bit of unprofessionalism from us there, but we all make mistakes. Do you know it could be like 5 minutes? It could be, to be fair. I doubt it.
We talk too much.
Dave Allen versus Arslanbek Makhmudov. The full card predictions: Ibrahim Sulaiman versus James Cheregi. I'm liking this. A Romanian journeyman, not the most common.
A European title twice.
Yeah.
Wow.
IBF.
I like it. 22-6.
And if there's anything about that title that we know about, it's a very
31 years of age, maybe slightly over the hump, if you will. Ibrahim Sulaiman, super featherweight. I'm going to go for a Sulaiman points decision. I think he's going to be a tough bugger.
Yeah, I've gone points decision as well.
Same here.
Hamza Udin versus Musin Kizota.
Nope. They've changed his opponent on that.
Have they?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to go with what's on the Boxing News app. So we're going to have to guess. We're going to have to guess who he's up against. This is a flyweight 10 round.
Do you want his actual
I've got
opponent?
It
Paul Roberts. He's fighting.
Paul Roberts. See, that makes a difference.
And Paul has never been stopped in his 6 losses.
And it is a flyweight fight. So what are you going for, Harry?
Udine points decision.
You, Ben.
I've gone points decision as well. This is his first 10 rounder, so I'm guessing they're building him up for a title fight next.
Same again for me, points decision. Junaid Bostan, Bilal Fawaz.
This is where it splits us all.
Ben, what are you going for?
This is a struggle.
He's going to.
I was so close to going for
draw.
I'm going to go Bostan decision. I think he'll be better this fight. I think he'll get the win.
Well, if he's not better than Fawaz, but I agree with Ben. He needs to be 100 times better than he was last time out. Boston split decision.
Yeah, I've gone for a Fawaz decision.
Yeah,
I think
it's the sort of fight where it's going to be 96, 94, and all that.
I think it's either a Boston stoppage or a Fawaz. I think Boston's going to really go for it, and I think either that'll open him up to fail or he'll succeed spectacularly. I think there's one or the other for me. Josh Padley versus Reece Bellotti, super featherweight 10 rounder. We talked about this as a brilliant fight. I'm really struggling to go for, but I think I'm going to have to go for a Padley points decision just because I'm thinking style-wise, I think Bellotti's going to get caught a little bit too much, and I think he does have the tank to do it for the full 10.
I'm shocked. I've just seen your prediction, but I thought I was going to be the only one going for this. But I've gone for Padley by stoppage.
It'll be funny. Everyone knows I'm a big fan of Josh Padley.
Future world champion.
Obviously not. obviously I said before that, I said he can be an IBF sort of world champion. Those
IBO was no. You did say he could be, now that he's got the money behind him, he could be a future world champion. There was a little bit of a
over the top
heat at the moment,
overreaction,
excitement, which it happens to all.
But I'm a big fan of Padley, and I agree with Ben. I think he gets a stoppage, but it's going to be late.
I think it's just going to be that hunger will be the difference. Padley's on.
Well, he's
the
not
rise.
eaten, or sorry.
That's Friday.
That would get Ben going. Dave Allen versus Arslanbek Makhmudov, the heavyweight. Two men who probably won't be that hungry going into this fight. What are we going for this one? It's Harry's turn.
It is. First time that I'm doing the main event in a while. It's going to be interesting as well this week when it comes to like Thursday and they face off against one another at the press conference. And it's apparently, I watched something last night, and it's going to be the first time that they're going to be seeing each other on Thursday. They've never met before. Listen, I think this is going to be a career best performance by Dave Allen. I've seen the pictures. I've seen that. Again, I don't understand why he's in a boxer sort of advertisement for step one. I don't know if you've seen the picture of him. You know, he said he was more scared of that picture coming out of him in boxers than he is facing this Russian bloke. So from that, with that confidence I'm taking from that, I'm going to go with Dave Allen. And I think he's going to stop Makhmudov within 6.
Wow. Big call. What about you, Ben?
That's a big shout. I've gone Dave Allen by stoppage as well. But I think he'll win between... Is this a 12 round or 10 round
it's
fight?
a 10 rounder, surely.
12 round on Box Rec.
Is it 12 round on Box
What
Rec?
title are they
Sorry,
playing?
12 round on the Boxing News. I'll have a look on Box Rec. 12 rounds, 12 rounder.
It is 12
What
round.
title are they fighting for?
Has he not got a WBA international something that he got off for the Johnny Fisher fight? I think
of course.
I believe it was.
Of course, the title. There we go.
I think Dave Allen rounds 8 to 12 will stop him. I think he'll kill him with body shots.
Yeah.
I think he'll stop him.
I don't think Dave Allen quite has the tank and the movement to do what Kabiel did to Arslanbek Makhmudov.
Don't break our hearts. No.
I'm going to go for a points decision by Dave Allen. I still think he wins the fight, but I just don't think he's got the... I don't think he'll have a good tank, but he won't have a great tank, and he'll have good movement, but he won't have great movement compared to Makhmudov, and I just don't think it'll be enough to get the stoppage. I think it'll be one of those kind of ugly slugfests where it's just kind of both men have got nothing left after 8 or 9, and it's just the last 3 is just two big 200-pound men slapping each other with, that kind of thing, which I love to see, don't get me wrong. And I like to see it in a boxing ring as well. But that's what my prediction is for that one.
Well, interestingly as well, changing quickly, Makhmudov's got, in his 20 wins, 19 stoppages, so he can punch. But his 2 losses have come by 2 stoppages. So
It's true.
They've both got 19 stoppages, haven't they?
Yep.
Fair enough. Someone's done their research.
You can tell he wasn't in class yesterday.
He's skipping it. He's just reading about numbers. Fair enough. Jaron Ennis back in the ring against Lima, now up in a weight category. Obviously vacated his belts. Boots Ennis is the kind of guy that you get excited about watching, regardless of who they're fighting. I think the opponent's underwhelming is the wrong word, but just it's not the most sort of inspiring fight in the world. But I probably will pay attention. I probably will catch up and watch it on Sunday morning. Giorgio Visioli, obviously, more importantly, making his debut over in America. Not making his debut in America, making his debut in America. No comma in there. What we're thinking about, obviously, first and foremost, that Boots Ennis card, but then obviously Giorgio Visioli, who, let's be real, is one of Britain's the top prospects at the moment.
Oh, Vianello's on there as well.
Yeah, well, Visioli, he's one of the best prospects probably in Britain, and it shows that, Eddie Hearn's got the trust in him, to go over so early in your professional career, to go stateside, to get that sort of experience. And he's only going to learn from this fight. And it's great to see that, Matchroom have, you look at fighters coming through and they can get used to like fighting in the same arena over and over and over again, get into some form of routine. Visioli here on Saturday night, he's going over to the States, Pennsylvania, I think it is, in a different atmosphere. So it's going to be a learning curve for him. But it's good to see that, he's having this opportunity to really shine, and he's just going to show off his talent to a different market now, and just going to grow himself as a character and as a fighter and get more eyeballs on him, which I think that's what Eddie Hearn wants from a lot of his prospects over here in the UK now, especially when you're looking into the future of who's going to be carrying British boxing and all. You know, Visioli could be, I'm not saying is going to be, he could be the sort of fighter that could be the flag bearer for boxing.
Yeah, and I think
Britain
as well, the opponent they've given him is a very winnable fight. The guy's got wins on his record, but it's nothing to write home about. But I think what they're really looking to do here is obviously they've got that huge commercial back and forth going at the moment with Komel Moton. And I think a win over in the States, particularly on a Boots Ennis undercard where a lot of people in the States will be paying attention to that fight. If they see this British lad come over and absolutely smoke, one of their own fighters, then I think that will get people talking of going, oh, Moton, why aren't you taking this fight? Are you scared? Are you da-da-da-da-da? And they kind of drop the ball in his court a little bit with that. And then it's a win-win at that point. Because I genuinely do believe he is, I think it'd be a good fight, but I think he is the better fighter out of the two of those. People will call me biased because I'm British and what. But yeah, no, I think it's a good fight for him. It makes sense commercially and I'm looking forward to seeing him get back out there. For me, he falls under the category of joy to watch. Like you watch him and you're like, wow, this is lovely to watch. And some fighters, get big stoppages, bit wins, but in the same, I'm not comparing them at all. But in the same way as when we watch a Inoue, we go, wow, he's a joy to watch. Visioli's a joy to watch, but he's not at Inoue's level. Yeah. I want to preface that.
I think Visioli is probably one of the most entertaining and exciting prospects the British boxing have got coming through, and I think it is a smart play to get him built up in America, build towards that fight with Komel Moton. That would do very well over in America with them too. But yeah, I think he's a top prospect. He's going to go very far. I think he's going to do very well for Matchroom. I think they've played it right with him. They've built him well already, but they've still sort of got that leash on them, haven't they? But I think once they let him go, he's going to do big things. And on the undercard of Boots Ennis, there's probably bar Bud Crawford, who is someone I'd like to see Boots fight, because I think the only difficulty with Boots is the fact that he hasn't got enough big names maybe to, that interest just isn't there from sort of more of a mainstream boxing audience, but he's a massive name within American boxing, one of the best fighters that they've got. So yeah, it's the perfect place for Visioli to be.
He looked good as well, Boots Ennis, didn't he, against Stanionis? Going over to him now. And I think the one word to describe maybe Boots Ennis's career at the moment is that there's it's a waiting game now, isn't it? When's that sort of really big fight, that really decent big test? And a lot of people said Stanionis could cause him some, problems when they faced off in Philadelphia last time out. But, this time around on Saturday night, you expect him to get through this fight quite easily. No disrespect to Lima at all. Lima's not been at that sort of level, I don't think. So it'll be interesting to see. But Boots Ennis, you touched on the faces of American boxing at the moment. Crawford, Gervonta Davis was probably close second. Shakur Stevenson. You've got Boots Ennis is definitely in the top 5 of the biggest names in boxing in America. You got to make that argument. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think as well, you mentioned about the sort of waiting game. I think he's got this sort of Opataya problem right now of either the opponents you get are not good enough to people to warrant that being a good victory, but actually the governing bodies and the sanctioning bodies aren't sanctioning the fights or making you mandatory or making people mandatory enough for you to be able to sort of bring the belts together, so you're not getting those big fights. And it's kind of, like you say, it's a waiting game of just keep jumping through the hoops until eventually the right sort of fights come around, and whether that involves a Turkey Al-Sheikh and a fight in Saudi Arabia, which I think, be real, it almost certainly does, unfortunately.
It's good as
in
well.
the meantime, like you say, he has to just keep ticking over and keep winning what's in front of him, because that's all you can be.
It's a good comparison with Opataya, because both of them aren't, waiting on the sidelines to get called into action. They're actually staying busy, which is good to see.
It feels like he almost needs, like Crawford had the Errol Spence fight. It was like the breakthrough fight that showed, right, he's up against another, they went into that fight almost 50-50, but showed the levels. I think that's what he needs. He just needs someone that he's going in there against the people think, oh, this is a real test. But if he can show that he's levels above them, it does show his class and how good he is compared to others. But yeah, it's a difficult one because you can only fight who's put in front.
I think more importantly though, now he's up at super welterweight, there is a bit more competition up there for him to sort of come up against. Thinking the likes of Sebastian Fundora, Keith Thurman, Ortiz Jr., Murat Saliev. Like there's more depth to that division. It's a very competitive division, albeit not commercially a huge division, and he can sort of bring that commercial pull to most fights. And actually, there is some quite competitive, interesting fights to that level. He just needs to get through one or two sort of tick box exercises to get up there.
Yeah.
Do you concur?
I do agree. Sorry.
I mean, it's such a good point that you just
out then.
you're just silent, stunned by my intellect. You know, I have that effect on people. It's all good.
I'm starstruck by Sam Hill. How about that? Yeah.
Who isn't? On that note, before my head gets too big for the studio, I think we should call it there. Anything else you guys want to tick off? Talk about?
Obviously, Welsh boxing.
Yeah,
let's talk about it. Johan Croft on the weekend. Great performance, tough opponent. This weekend, although he is in the away corner, Angelo Dragoni's back out in action. So
he's against
Joe Hayden.
Dave Allen's fighter.
Yeah, and I've been told he's coming to fight. We've been told he's coming to fight.
He always comes to fight, Angelo, you know. So
yeah, he did say to us he only comes to fight in Wales, and then he's kind of extended that to when he wants. But
Sunderland.
Not the first time he's fought on a Matchroom card either. He made it early in his career. He fought on a Matchroom card.
Yeah, let's hope what happened on that show mine that happened to him. Let's hope that doesn't happen to him again. But no, very best of luck to him, because it's good to see that, you know, are we going to say the name of the guy that's got this fight for him, who we've been told, you know? Does he give us commission for it?
Yeah, we can give him a shout, but you have to say, you can't say he told us to say it, because he gets annoyed at us for that, doesn't he?
He did. Did he not?
I think so.
I don't know. You know, he may not listen to the podcast anymore.
Probably not.
But, who knows? But no, listen, it's great to see that Welsh boxers, again, the opportunity, obviously, look, he's in the away corner, so he probably needs to do something very special to get a decision, but just fully backing him all the way, probably.
Particularly on a Matchroom card.
Exactly.
But I'll say it quietly, courtesy of Dan Francis. There we go. We said it. He got his shout out. So all that good stuff. Thank you all for tuning in, as always, to the preview show. Once again, only one thing this week, but I'm sure we'll be back to 2 episodes. Boxing's a little bit slower at the moment.
I don't even know when we're going to be returning.
But we'll see what we can do. We maybe try and get some guests in or something like that.
End to the year.
Without a doubt. It'll pick up.
We got on the way to look forward to or something.
Oh, magic. If you haven't already, check out Boxing Fight Zone. We normally have some t-shirts behind us, but they've been locked away in a secret room for some reason. So we need to go and collect those first to show them off. But you saw them last week. They make some really cool boxing stuff. We've got a link in our description and a discount code. So if you like cheap stuff, which I think we all do, who doesn't?
Well, it's affordable. And the quality's incredible as well.
Too right. I didn't mean cheap as in, the stuff you get from B&M or whatever. But no, it's good. It's generally good stuff. We wouldn't plug it if we didn't like it.
Really good.
All that good stuff. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week.
Punches chance. Punches Chance Podcast.